What is Indian art? Now I know defining art is quite an elusive task. It is difficult to confine it within words. But that does not mean that we should not even try. There is some inherent joy in chasing things which we cannot achieve. Same with the art. One of the most fascinating definitions of Indian art that I have read is given by Vasudev Aagrwal. He writes, "The essential quality of Indian art is its preoccupation with the things of the spirit. The approach is not intellectual but spiritual. It was primarily the fruit of artists' creative meditation, an effort to project symbols of divine reality as conceived by the collective consciousness as a whole." Here, author defines Indian art as being fundamentally preoccupied with spiritual rather than material. To understand this position, we need to understand a broader Indian philosophical framework where material reality is understood as Maya. Not unreal in crude sense, but transient, deceptive, and insufficient for grasping ultimate truth. Within such worldview, the task of the artist was not to replicate the visible world with precision, but to hint toward what lies beyond appearances. An Indian artist approached it not intellectually, but spiritually, through sadhana, through meditation. Because the beauty, which was one of the primary concerns of Indian artists, cannot be known by intellect, but directly intuited. The knowledge of beauty, like the knowledge of truth, was experiential and not conceptual. This philosophical orientation helps to explain why Indian art does not emphasize muscular definition or anatomical precision in the manner of Greek sculpture. The physical body functions here as a reference point and not as an end in itself. Since the body belongs to the realm of Maya, its detailed naturalism is secondary to the expression of bhava, rasa, and symbolic meaning. What matters is not how the body looks, but what it signifies, what it suggests. Agarwal further argues that Indian art was primarily a fruit of artists' creative meditation. It suggests that the meditation was not an optional supplement to artistic practice, but a precondition. The artist was expected to first conceive the form inwardly through contemplation before manifesting it outwardly. Finally, the symbols projected in Indian art were rarely individual inventions. They were inspired by myths, narratives, and images that are already circulating within a shared cultural imagination. However, this collective consciousness was not homogeneous. It was shaped by historical context, social structures, and religious traditions. Divine symbols were not created randomly. Through meditation, artists reshaped and reactivated these symbols which are already living in collective memory. For example, let's look at this Narasimha sculpture carved on the walls of Chennakeshwar temple, Belur. If you are aware of Narasimha's myth, you will immediately recognize this is Narasimha, the man-lion form of Vishnu. The person lying across his lap here is a demon Hiranyakashipu, and this garland is nothing but Hiranyakashipu's intestines that Narasimha wears after ripping demon's abdomen. Since art was based on such myths, it was accessible to people, for people to connect with it. Form in Indian art was inspired by both the worlds, seen and unseen, physical and mental, spiritual and material. In this sense, Indian art can be understood not as an escape from reality, but as an attempt to reorient attention, inviting us to look at not only what is visible, but also what remains unseen. Thank you.